Greetings, everyone, from my living room in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm Mike Wilson with Blake Toppmeyer, who is at Sanford Stadium in Athens, Georgia, where Tennessee was just beaten handily by Georgia, number 3 Georgia, 44-21. Not a pretty performance from the Vols for the final 30 minutes after a pretty decent start there, Blake. Looking at the offense specifically, a lot of turnover issues second half, no run game throughout, penalty issues. How do you sum up what we saw from Tennessee's offense today?
I think there's going to be a lot of conversation about the 3 second-half turnovers, and obviously that had a big hand in this loss. But I think really when you look at it, this was supposed to be a game of Tennessee's offensive line that was its best unit. At least we felt like it was one of their team strengths, if not the number one strength of this team, against Georgia's top strength. Its defense, particularly its front four. And that was sort of the matchup within the matchup. And Tennessee's line crumbled. The Vols totaled -1 rushing yards. Now that's influenced obviously by 5 sacks, but even if you take the 5 sacks out of there, they weren't able to run the football. They weren't able to protect the quarterback. And really, they scored 3 touchdowns. One of them was a gift from Georgia, and then the other 2 came off big plays from Garantano to Josh Palmer. We didn't see Tennessee all night to be able to sustain a drive. And I think part of that speaks to Georgia's strength of its defense. But I think we all thought coming into this game that Tennessee would at least have a chance to establish the run and maybe get something going there and take a little bit of the pressure off Garantano. In reality, Garantano was one of the biggest reasons why they were leading at halftime. He played well in the first half, whereas the running game did nothing. And then after halftime, neither the running game nor Garantano was able to do anything.
Yeah, obviously, very much a tale of 2 halves for Jarrett Garantano. 2 big touchdown passes early to Josh Palmer that put Tennessee in the lead. But yeah, not a great second half. But how do we evaluate Jarrett Garantano's performance in this game? He is charged with 3 turnovers, had another fumble as well. But how do we evaluate those things in his play, especially in light of Jeremy Pruitt being asked after the game, did he consider making a change at quarterback? And he said no, essentially saying that wasn't our problem.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I think Pruitt's, for the most part, always looks to protect his quarterback. And I think what he said mostly makes sense, too. To his point, Tennessee wasn't going to have a chance tonight if it couldn't run the football. Tennessee wasn't going to have a chance if it didn't protect the quarterback, and it wasn't going to have a chance with 10 penalties. And so I think to his point, and you touched on it there, they did have more issues beyond Garantano's 3 turnovers. And I think also he mentioned how, it was a couple possession game there still in the second half. I think decidedly the momentum had shifted the other way, and it would have felt pretty surprising if the Vols swung it back at that point. But still, he's trying to win a football game, and I think he felt like the best chance they had of winning was sticking with Garantano and seeing if he could spark a rally. Didn't happen. With Jarrett's performance, it is interesting to evaluate because the first half was his best single half of play in 6 career starts against the trio of Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. He played really well in that first half. And in the second half, it was a classic case of Jekyll meets Hyde. We've seen this from Garantano throughout his career, the inconsistencies. But again, so much went wrong for Tennessee offensively tonight. I think this is sort of a classic case of a lot of people will by default sort of focus on the quarterback position. That's what happens when you play quarterback. But you really look up and down what Tennessee did offensively tonight, and I don't think there was really anywhere on offense that was able to get it going. So, Garantano played poor in the second half, and so did everybody else.
What's our main lesson here about Tennessee football? Going to this game on an 8-game winning streak, number 12 in the country, and getting thoroughly handled for the final 30 minutes of football against a rival in a program that they have to stack up against if they're going to start competing for anything of relevance in the SEC again.
It's interesting. I wrote about this in one of my stories after the game. I circled back to Phil Fulmer's comment in February when he kind of got caught up in the moment, I think, and declared that the Vols are back. And the fact is, Tennessee is inching toward national relevance again. This is a program that I think undeniably is moving in the right direction under Jeremy Pruitt. That being said, this game against Georgia has sort of served as an annual reminder for 3 years now of where Tennessee is as compared to where it wants to be. I mean, Tennessee has separated itself from those bottom teams in the SEC East, but there's still a sizable gap between the top of the SEC East and where Tennessee is. And I think part of that is, and I wrote about this too, Georgia, I mean, they basically have a caretaker at quarterback. I mean, that's what Stetson Bennett is. He made some nice plays with his feet, made a few good throws, but he's not the quarterback you would generally expect from the number 3 ranked team in the country. But Georgia is legitimately great on defense. It might have the nation's best defense. And I think to be at the top of the division, or to really be contending in the thick of a division race, you have to be great in at least some facet of the game. And Georgia showed that tonight, especially throughout the second half with its defense. Its defense is undeniably a great unit. Tennessee, the areas that we thought they were really good, offensive line and running back, were completely missing. And I think that was a reminder that, Tennessee is improving in a lot of areas. I don't think they're great in any particular area, and I think you have to be before you can start joining the conversation of being among the front runners in your division.
Certainly a lot to continue to dissect and discuss from Tennessee's loss at Georgia today, and moving forward to Kentucky and Alabama and beyond for the rest of the season. Stay tuned to KnoxNews and Go Vols Extra for all the latest on Tennessee football.